Listen, I probably don't have to repeat the seriousness of what's happening here. Um, uh, I think many of you know we've surpassed 800 people that have been killed here. We know that there's over 100 that have been kidnapped. We're hearing the horrors of some the most amazing brutality that we haven't heard of since the Holocaust. It's we're finding out that we probably have had one of the worst days ever in Israel's history. It surpassed Yom Kippur, and there's still so much we don't know. Skirmishes have already started in the north. There's expectation of escalation. Nations are coming to pick up their people in Amman. They're working on flights there. We've got people leaving here. We've got 4 people leaving here momentarily, but one just joined us. Lots happening. But where I really want to talk to you about today is some of you have been following the story of the Oslo Accord, 1993, and something that got birthed out of the Isaiah 62 fast 5 days into it is a woman who is part of the forerunning team for years and married her husband as part of being at IHOP. Felt the Lord was showing her some things on the horizon that were going to happen, and that she needed to stand in the gap for the Oslo Accord and the judgment that comes against nations and Israel when you divide God's land. And so they had a very powerful meeting. They picked a date. They had no idea that was Yom Teruah, and they went through some amazing intercession. God came. He showed up powerfully. The weight of God's glory. The Lord has shown them to take a tall ship from Norway through various other 6 other ports before they hit Israel. On the anniversary of the 1,000 years since Norway has been a Christian nation, a journey of repentance on this tall ship, looking especially for youth from around the world to join them at different ports, come in and off. They've been told that gold and silver is an important part of this journey. Isaiah 60, of course. That this is all related to Isaiah 18 and Isaiah 19, for anybody who's been following Prayer Valley. And then 3 of them, 2 Norwegian, 1 New Zealand, would meet here. They didn't know why the other night. I came here, wasn't supposed to be here. And a convergence begun. I just got off another Zoom with Karen, who's a Filipino that was drawn through IHOP to Norway and has been given this amazing assignment. So we're watching this convergence. Earlier this morning, I woke up. Some might have heard about it already. I felt a leading to call Stuart at IHOP. I'm sharing these things not for gossip, but so that you can pray into it, because we're in the midst of rallying the planet right now for something similar to Isaiah 62, but bigger. Isaiah 62 probably was critical and helped bring the shift, but that shift has led to something that is really tonight welcoming the nations to join their Jewish communities in solidarity. There's rallies going in Jewish communities around the world. They will probably continue, especially as the fever pitch. I needed to talk to IHOP about what they can do. I called at a time that Stuart was in the midst of seeking the Lord on what to do, what's all this mean, and he felt it was an answer. I my desire was he'd have the courage to actually invite at least 100 people from IOP. He's invited all of them. He's inviting all the alumni. We're believing now that this could be a call that's not only locally for IOP or nationally for America, but international. And so we're actually in the midst of trying to mobilize Isaiah 62 and the 12,000 hubs. And we need a vault of prayer to be on top of this. And so this is why I'm speaking to you right now before I go on another Zoom here in 4 minutes with International Christian Embassy with Jerusalem, is to know that the significance of what we're working on right now has everything to do with returning Jewish people home. There's airplanes leaving with young men and women coming up and joining the 200,000, 300,000 that were enlisted in 48 hours, including my son-in-law, Chaim. The reality is, it's like what is happening right now is so, we don't know where it's going to go. And many more lives could be very well lost. And this intercession is key. I just met with some Jews that are Lone Soldier house that we did here 500 meters away that have come up from the north. They're not finished. They have 4 more months to finish their training. Their training will be finishing up here. So there'll be ongoing training. But the point is we have soldiers that are making Aliyah or prepared to be soldiers for the IDF. So we're probably talking about not something short, unless it will be miraculous, and it could be. But what's important is that we pick up the pace on the altar of prayer. Many new people are coming in. I'm inviting those who are working as administrators to make sure that we get people accepted as quickly as possible. I'm asking you who lead on the altar prayer to do your little itty bitty part in strengthening your individual watch. What can you do? What can you do? Do you have good assistant leaders? Are you able to do more on your watches? And yet we don't want to burn people out. We want effectual intercession. We need to recruit more. Just like the IDF, they're bringing the reserves in. Altar prayer needs to bring the reserves in. So who do you know that is not on the altar prayer that you've always known should be here with courage and boldness, and on the east side of the Jordan where Moses said it to Joshua, where Joshua said it to Israel? I'm saying to you, be strong and be courageous. The Lord thy God is with you, and he will help you. He'll give you wisdom to know how you can build your watch. These are 3-hour watches. We want effectual teaching. Please review how we do these watches. Half-hour teaching, 90 minutes prayer. Worship the Lord. Take time to wait on the Lord in silence. Leaders, draw from your people to find out what they're hearing. If there's something significant, please put it on the chat. Share it with our Western, Eastern, and Central leaders. Let's work together. Let's come together in one accord. Today, when we went from this room, we feel right now it's like a Rees Howells moment. If you haven't read Rees Howells, The Intercessor, read it. The war was turned when those intercessors in Wales, when I shared that at this meeting today, Rosa, a woman from Wales, just broke down crying. She was saved out of that ministry. And the reality is these are, we're having these moments here. We believe that this is a nerve center, Prayer Valley, which is stretching all across Africa and through Lebanon, through Israel, Lebanon, and into Syria and Turkey. This fault line, okay? There's a shaking going on, but there's a healing of the rift to reverse the curse. And right now we're seeing the rift that we are targeting in our intercession is that Oslo Accord. 30 years ago. And so I'm praying that you'll pray, you'll intercede, you'll hear God, and that's what we're called to. This is our part of our warfare, is in our intercession, because we are a ministry here on this altar that we are praying for the return of the Jewish people to a land that shall be restored. And it cannot be a land that's going to be divided, that makes Daddy unhappy. And he's slow to anger, but he's also very merciful and compassionate. And we are those priests of every tribe, nation, tongue, and people, and we're standing in the gap. So you're asking God in this. You're praying for us as we work here to mobilize some international leaders, including IHOP, and what can be done with the Isaiah 62 fast website that has 12,000 hubs that represent millions of intercessors that joined us in May. You're praying in this direction. You're praying for the church, not have to wait for a letter or an encouragement, but to get into the Jewish community around the world. Especially pray for Americans, pray for Canadians, pray for the Europeans, pray where you know Jewish communities are, and pray. What's happening in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam tonight? The reality is it's critical that the church understands we are at war. The ecclesia knows that we are at war, and we show up with boots on, those of us who make mention of the Lord. It's time for the Watchmen to arise. Have you noticed the name of this operation, of this war? Does anybody know the name?
Yeah, Operation Sword and Arrow.
Operation Swords and Arrow. I'll tell you, the watchman's job is when you see the sword coming. What are we supposed to do? What does Ezekiel 3 say? What does Ezekiel 33 say? Do we just hover?
Warn the people.
We warn the people. And that takes courage, and courage to go through rejection.
Yes.
And we need to rise up, watchmen. Yes, there's work to do on our knees, but there's work to be not silent, not be fearful about being a Zionist. God's a Zionist. His vengeance when he returns will be his vengeance over Zion. So it's important that we ask God, even ourselves, we go before him and say, God, change me, transform me, renew my mind. I offer my bodies as a living sacrifice. This is my spiritual act of worship. Let me not conform any longer to the ways of this world, but transform me, renew my mind, so I might know your good, your pleasing, and your perfect will. And to know his will enable us to pray in accordance to his will. So it's done. Amen.